G'day guys, how are you? Another wet season day up here in Darwin. Plenty of rain, which means aeroplanes parked outside can get water in the fuel. I'm going to take you through how to check for fuel, what are the signs, and most importantly, what to do with it afterwards. Let's go check it out. Water contamination in aircraft is a real thing, especially for aeroplanes parked outside. We have aeroplanes here that can be quite some time since they've had their fuel caps checked, leaky seals, and water gets in really easily. Especially up here in the tropics, the amount of rain that we get, it can really easily penetrate these seals, even if they're good ones. So it's really crucial to do good, proper, adequate fuel checks before you go flying. So how do we check for fuel in the first place? Well, first thing is not immediately after it's just rained and not immediately after you've just put in the fuel. You've got to give the water time to settle. So it's always good to wait a good 5 to 10 minutes if you think there is a chance of water in the tank. If the aircraft's been hanged, then the chances are very low. So unless it's just been flying in rain before, you're probably going to be okay. What should you drain with? Well, we've got a few sample jars here. This is the one from CASA. They put out these at flight safety seminars and things, so if you haven't got one, it's a really great idea to get your very own one and put it into your flight bag. It's got a usable screwdriver at one end. It can go flathead or Phillips. That simply unscrews at the end. And then we've obviously got the push thing. What do you call that? You got your probe at the end to be able to push up into the fuel drain, or if need be, that also comes out. And the maintenance style fuel drains that have the push and twist, you can grab the little teeth on that and twist and turn. Always got to be careful of those ones, of course. If you do it for too long or you overturn it, you can lock the fuel drain open and it's going to continue to pour once you pull the fuel drain away. The other is this style, your GATS jar. The good thing about these is, again, it's got your maintenance drain hole teeth, so you can twist those. It's also got the needle on the inside. But more importantly, it's got a filter. This filter is approved and will separate fuel water contaminants, and you can actually then pour through that filter and return the fuel to the aircraft rather than having to chuck it on the ground. So it's better environmentally friendly and you're not using quite so much fuel. While I've got you, if you're enjoying this content, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Heaps of aircraft, aviation, student training, instrument training related material, Australian-based, Australian content, Australian rules and regs. And of course, there's the podcast every Monday, Flight Training Australia. To check out those episodes and more, check out flighttrainingaustralia.net on any of your favourite podcast servers. By putting the fuel drain on the ground, we get damage like this. It eats up the bitumen, it causes it to go sticky and tarry. We get all that over the tyres, potentially all over our clothes if we're kneeling down, and it's just not great. So what are our options with the fuel drain? We want to be really cautious of pouring fuel onto the ground wherever we can. The simple fact is water runoff runs into the drains, goes out into our rivers, creeks, streams, estuaries and oceans, and fuel in the environment is not a good thing in any case. More and more now, airports are installing fuel collection points like this one at Darwin Airport to collect fuel samples. This is going to minimise the damage on the ground and eating the bitumen like I showed you earlier. Ones like this just have a simple safety catch, opens up, and a footstep opens up, and here's our fuel can inside. Pour your fuel in, job done. So here's an example of a maintenance style fuel drain. This one's designed so it can actually push up and twist and lock open for when maintenance engineers are trying to drain fuel from the aircraft. Really easy drain to use, however, there is a chance that if you push and twist, you can actually leave it slightly open and fuel is going to gush and pour all over you or all over the ground when you take your fuel drain away. So what does it look like when you've got water in your fuel? Well, as I said, water is more dense than fuel. So fuel's going to sit on top, water's going to sit on the bottom. Now, depending on the composition of the sample that you've taken, this is going to vary. Have a look at this one here. This was taken after some pretty serious rain. The test tube or the fuel drain looks pretty good to start with, doesn't it? It's relatively clear, but watch. As it settles, the water is able to settle to the bottom and the avgas rise to the top. This is actually a water sample of 95% water. On this particular day, we took nearly 10 samples before we got all the water out. So let's have a look at it now. So here's a relatively clear fuel drain sample. It's just pure fuel in there. Bottle of water, have a look at what happens. So now we've got two separate layers. It's a little bit hard to see. So this is where we might use a good background to really be able to differentiate what's going on. So let's try that now. Using the darker background of the paint, now we can clearly see there's a water line here. This is water in the tank, and this is the avgas sitting on top. So we need to drain that out again until this water disappears. Once you've got rid of the water, you've got to be careful. As you can see, some water particles have stuck to the side. If you now go do another fuel drain, it will appear that you still have water in your drain. Always make sure you latch it properly when you're finished, especially up here. Possible cyclones, winds, it's going to blow open and cause damage. Some might say, what's the point of getting a fuel drain when the fuel trucks do it? Well, A, the practice. If you get used to doing something, you probably will forget to do it when you're actually needing to, such as when your airplane's been sitting outside and getting rain in it. Or, of course, if you're refueling from drums. Despite that, it's a legal requirement. You need to know the quality of your fuel in the airplane. It doesn't take long, so why wouldn't you do it? Hopefully that's given you heaps of great ideas on what to think about and how to address your next fuel drain. Of course, if you're ever in doubt, take the sample, show a lamey, an engineer, and get them to have a look at it. At the end of the day, rock the wings, allow it time to settle, take your sample and have a good look, especially if it's an outdoor aircraft and the fuel tank system may have been compromised through water egress. There's always water detecting paste, although that's not as commonly used these days because CASA have removed that regulation. At the end of the day, be safe and be sure. All right, that's it for today. See you in the next video. So what does it look like exactly when you have fuel in the water? Not good.